you guys and we, when we pick things that we need to buy or subscribe to, we don't have time to go research 19 different options. We want to see who's out there, who's trustworthy, who's on top, and then we gravitate to that. So the way you do that is through authority marketing, authority positioning. You have to position yourself as an expert authority. And you know what? You can just wait for it to happen, but that might take a year or 10.
This is Stay Paid, the marketing podcast that gives listeners a competitive edge to stay motivated, find inspiration, and discover proven real-world tactics from some of the best marketers across the nation.
Welcome to another episode of Stay Paid. I'm Joshua Stike along with Luke Acree. And before we bring on our guest today, we'd love it if you take a minute to subscribe to Stay Paid on Apple Podcasts or Spotify if you're not already subscribed. And while you're there, we'd really appreciate it if you drop us a review. We will read it here on the show. Our guest today is Mike Saunders. Mike is a national speaker, best-selling author of 4 books, and a successful business coach, helping financial professionals to stand out from their competition and become an instant celebrity on the powerful platforms of publicity, podcasting, and publishing. Mike helps his clients by taking them from a hidden hero to the in-demand trusted advisor so they get authority, get noticed, and most importantly, get clients. Mike, welcome to Stay Paid. Thanks for being here.
Hey guys, thanks for having me, and love your show, love your mission, and you had the little tongue fumble, but I am a best spelling author because I do take care of that as well. So
take care of your own spelling. Good job.
Well, that makes one of us. I definitely am not the best spelling author.
Well, I have tools. You know, we have professional editing tools, but you know, we gotta put the best foot forward.
With Chat GPT, I can't stop talking about it. You won't ever have to worry about spelling again or writing. It's just going to write everything for you. It's going to be. I mean, this new AI is crazy.
Well, the next step is you put an electrode from that chat AI into your head, and then you just think what you want to say, and then it finds it and puts it out there. Well, there's where we're headed.
Elon Musk,
that's what it is.
The Neuralink, that's what he's trying to do. Honestly, with the Neuralink, I mean, look it up. It's pretty crazy. But we're going to talk about authority positioning
today.
I'd love to get your take on, why, first, what is authority positioning? Why is it important, especially as you look at like 2023? Why would someone need to be the authority or do this authority positioning in their marketing, in their business?
Well, it used to be back in the day, if you guys listen to or read Seth Godin, he would talk about how, we've moved into the age of trust and influence and following up and all of that. But it used to be you put out an ad in the newspaper, whatever those things were, back in the day, and say, hey, we've got this widget on sale for X price, and people flock to it. Nowadays, people are so busy, you need to cut through the clutter and get their attention. But more importantly, these days, you need their trust, because you need to be seen as credible. So because an advisor or any entrepreneur has a competitor or million or 1,000, right? We have competitors. What sets you apart? Well, you can't just say we have more experience than we have, because everyone has that. All of that same mumbo jumbo, but you need to be seen as that trusted, credible advisor. And the other aspect to that is you guys and we, when we pick things that we need to buy or subscribe to, we don't have time to go research 19 different options. We want to see who's out there, who's trustworthy, who's on top, and then we gravitate to that. So the way you do that is through authority marketing, authority positioning. You have to position yourself as an expert authority. And you know what? You can just wait for it to happen, but that might take a year or 10. Yeah. So you need to be proactive to get yourself out there on platforms where people will notice you, your target audience, so that they trust you, and then you can open up the door for that conversation, and then the normal sales process goes from there.
Yeah, so talk about how someone can do that. Like, how can you actually get on those platforms? What are the different types of platforms that you're talking about? And then I guess get that in front of their ideal client.
Yeah, I think that you need to know what you do and why you do it, how you do it, your competitive advantage. So you need to have that dialed in, and get your messaging down pat. Deirdre Van Nester, has a great program for that, and all the different people, all the different people we see in the industry that help you, dial that in. Yeah. Here's the problem. The problem is, do you just email that out, or do you just post it on your blog, or do you just put it out on your social media? Because, you have to think about something. I've never been to Germany, never driven on the Autobahn, but if we went to the Autobahn, and I'm sure that there's no telephone poles on the Autobahn, but if we tapped our little business card on the Autobahn and hope that people driving by would see our thing and call us, forget about it. Our target audience has so many inputs on a daily basis in front of them. They don't have time to assess one versus the other. So we need to get on their platforms that they respect. And a blog post, people realize it's the barrier to entry to posting an article on your blog is very little. A LinkedIn article, you have to do these things. You have to. But the more attention you will garner is on positive platforms that are noticed. Like, you need to do videos. You need to do podcasting. You need to do, be mentioned in the media. You need to do keynote speaking. You need to do workshops, all of those things, but they need to be things that are elevated in your prospects' attention.
So, like, to get a podcast going, like the big pain point of a podcast, right, is nobody listens. I think like nobody listened to ours for the first 3 years, right? And it's keeping going. And the truth is, we didn't even think about this idea of PR, authority positioning, early on. We probably should have. We didn't kind of go down that vein. Talk about like what you mean by, okay, if I do a podcast, right? If I've dialed in my message, how then do I get that out there, right? I know you have a unique way of doing this, but how do I take my podcast and get listeners or get it so people, when they Google me, they actually see it, right? Traditionally, it's SEO, but you think, SEO is almost gone by the wayside now. So talk about that a little bit.
So there's two aspects with the word podcasting. You can either launch your own podcast and do shows, or you can be a guest on podcast. And my recommendation is start with being a guest on podcast that would have, you don't want to be in, cooking, best recipes if you're a financial advisor, because that might not be your target audience. So you want to get on podcasts that would be somewhat relevant, but don't worry about your downloads and your interactions, because like you said, it takes a minute. If you launch your own show, don't worry about the downloads, because whether you're a guest or you're producing your own show, it's what you do with it. So when you have that episode and you need to strategically think about what you're going to talk about and teach on that episode so that it triggers some of those buyer's journey pillar pieces of content that your target audience must understand before making the very next step to talk with you. Maybe not even to work with you just yet, but they need to understand this piece. And once they understand this piece, now, okay, yeah, you've got me here because you didn't confuse me with 19 different, things why you should choose me. Well, here's what happens. When you have those podcast episodes and you know that this episode is all about, buyer's journey piece of content number one, you go out and proactively get it out to your target audience. Mm-hmm. That's the missing link that most people think. They push out an episode or get interviewed and they think, Katie, bar the door, here comes clients. You need to proactively and send it to your target audience and go, hey, have you ever been concerned about? Hey, have you ever wondered about how to maximize? In this episode, I was just interviewing on this podcast. I really laid this out really clearly. Take a listen. Or, hey, on social media, I was just really recently interviewed on, take a listen. Let me know what you think. It's what you do with it to expand and optimize that authority positioning.
So following up with what Luke kind of said, your second part of the question there, why you say that SEO is dead for financial professionals. What does that mean, and what should people be doing? Obviously,
I only say it because search engine optimization is a very expensive proposition, and typically it is, hey Josh, you can get me ranked for best financial planner in whatever city. Cool, a couple grand a month, but nobody's out there Googling best financial planner in my city. They're just not. I don't think. The better thing to do is with your networking, your personal contacts, your LinkedIn, all of that, you're going to get recommended and introduced. But before they reach out and connect with you, they're going to Google you and your company. So that's where it's at. So it is, you want to be visible on Google. I call it Google visibility. You want your Google resume to really display much better than just, I Googled this advisor's name and agency, and I see they have a website and a Facebook and a LinkedIn. That's what every other person has. But what if you are directly Googled? Now on page one of Google, we see your website, LinkedIn, and then they scan down. They're like, oh, they were mentioned in the media. Oh, they were interviewed on. Oh, that's an interesting topic. I'm going to listen to that, which might then confirm the meeting that they had booked with you or confirm that they need to book that meeting with you. So the broad search engine optimization for keywords, I just think is a waste of money and a waste of time, because you should be focused on getting all of this authority positioning surrounded and indexed to your name and your agency.
Yeah, no, it makes a ton of sense. So it's really like after they know you or they know of you, now you're just implanting that credibility and that trust. And
it's like an NLP, neuro-linguistic programming kind of concept called pre-framing.
Yeah.
If I knew that, Luke Acree with XYZ agency was, I booked a call with him before I even had that call, because I might cancel, I'm going to go Google him. And then I look and I go, oh, he's legit. cool, I'm going to keep that. I hope he actually accepts me as a client. That kind of a mentality. It's pre-framing your expertise and guess what else? You know how you said about downloads and everything? And I said, get the episode from that one podcast episode and send it out proactively to whatever, your clients, your prospects, strategic alliances. How many times have we all heard in business, I set appointments and sometimes people don't show up? That's just human nature. Sometimes it happens. But here's a little ninja tip on helping people that have scheduled a call with you to actually show up. You send out that appointment confirmation. Hey, thank you so much for booking the call on this day, this time. Looking forward to learning from you. This is not a sales call, just going to get to know you. Hey, by the way, between now and the time we have that visit, Zoom call, whatever that it is, I was just recently interviewed on this podcast about how I approach my clients and how I serve my clients and my methodologies. Listen to it right here. It takes about 20 minutes, and that'll answer a lot of your general questions. Hey, look forward to talking to you, whatever you say there. But now they're like, okay, this person's pretty legit. They're not going to be a pushy salesperson. Oh, I like their analogy I like their background. So you're able to use these at every single marketing touch point through the process.
Yeah.
It's funny because it goes into our accolades. They create trust in the mind of the client, and being featured somewhere, interviewed somewhere, that's like an accolade, right? So we even share all the time, hey, we've been on the Inc. 5000 list 4 times in a row. Why do we share that? Not because we care to brag about being on the Inc. 5000 list. We don't even care. It's because in the mind of the consumer, the prospect, the person you're building a relationship with, the credibility of who you are goes up. And so a great action item for everybody listening to this is Google yourself. What comes up when you Google yourself? Because I bet you your Google business profile will come up. And if you don't have one, shame on you, get one. I bet you your LinkedIn is going to come up. And if that's not up to date, and then the next is going to be media features. Now, would you suggest going out there and paying for a syndication, almost like PR, like a press release? You can basically do a press release and get featured on all these sites. Would you recommend that? And then how would you use that if I did that?
Yeah, I have something called an authority positioning portfolio. I've got a federal trademark on that phrase. And that comes up because I spent decades working in the mortgage industry, working with financial advisors, and a portfolio came up with, the financial portfolio. What kind of stocks, bonds, mutual funds, insurances that are in your portfolio. So an authority positioning portfolio is something what are these assets that are positioning me as that expert? Well, how do you go out and get them? I could give, and I don't have this, but I could, create a 12-week training course where you go through and listen and learn and videos and worksheets and learn how to pitch yourself to journalists and get mentioned in the media. But who's going to sign up? Who's going to finish it? Who's going to go out and do all the work? The best way to do it is when you could just go, I know logically that I need these things. These resonate with me because doing that last Facebook ad campaign, poof, it was gone when I quit paying it. So I need something long-term. So I would suggest to you, Luke, my authority positioning portfolio concept is, hey, find where you could become podcast guests on other shows and pick 3, 4, 5 topics that you want to really zero in deep on so that you can later use those in your marketing to draw people to you. Not telling your life story 10 times over. That should be a little tiny element of it, but zero in on this one thing. Right here, how business owners can transfer wealth to their children without selling the business using, specific financial products, whatever that might be. Well, then you've got that one interview. Then you go out and get some media or press release syndication that you were interviewed on talking about. So now it tags into that. And so now the link from the press release links over to that interview. And maybe you have a link also to your website. So now it becomes strategically interlinked. So the answer is yes. And yeah, you can learn how to go out and do that. But who's got the time to do it? You need to find a way to go, I need to get interviewed on and I need to get suppressed, boom, boom, boom. And you have it done for you.
Yeah,
That's
I would
the power.
agree because you're basically looking for that logo, to be able to put that logo and then to have that URL, because it builds such credibility because you get brand association. When you have the Fox and the NBC and all those things on your website now, you get that brand credibility and association happening in the mind of the consumer. So think of your postcards, think of your website, think of your social media. Now you have that where you're tagging that in from a logo perspective, and it's super powerful to influence and persuade the consumer.
Yep. 100%. Here's another medium. There's this really cool program out there. You probably have not even heard of this yet, but I've got this magazine called Business in Action, and it brands me.
That's a great looking magazine, by the way. You guys got to go check out this video.
I know. But check this out. Look at those logos.
Yep.
So here's just the back cover here. When you have those authority positioning assets, it's all about where you put them, and nothing wrong with putting it on your website or your social media or your Facebook or LinkedIn. We know we need to do that. But here's something powerful. Marshall McLuhan is a Canadian author from the 60s, wrote a book called The Medium is the Message. And one of the key takeaways was where your content is seen gives as much value, if not more value, than the actual content. So as a financial planner, a realtor, entrepreneur, doesn't matter what you teach, your secret sauce, your thing. Yeah, you can put it in all those generic places, but when it is seen, heard on podcast, publicity, whatever, things like that, now people sit up and take notice. Well, it was the same article you put on your website, but now it's like, oh, you were interviewed on, or it's in, oh, wait a minute, I'm touching this magazine, and oh, I can go scan this and go check out this interview you were featured on. So that platform is really powerful.
That's awesome. So talk about the leads, right? Because everyone wants to know, where do you get the leads? How do you maximize the leads? How do you convert on those leads? How are you kind of coaching people in the financial space to get leads, and then to ultimately to nurture them to where they will do business with you?
Yeah. Nurture is a key word, because I think that people want a shortcut, and they see all this marketing to go, oh, you need to be on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, let me do video. But a lot of people are comfortable on video. But even if you are, here's a little mindset shift. And there's nothing wrong with video. You need to be doing video, but there's an aspect of being seen on a video that you are promoting you. But when you, financial advisor, whoever, entrepreneur, when you're interviewed on a podcast, you're the subject matter expert. So now let's pair that mentality of where your content is being seen on authoritative platforms, and the aspect that you're the one being asked questions. You're the expert. And now let's nurture some leads. So if you bought leads or you get a referral, just because you got a referral doesn't mean deal closed. It just means they're probably going to keep the call with you a little bit better. But when you use these authority positioning assets, let's use this example of a podcast interview, and you're using that. If you bought some leads, guess who else is getting that same lead? You buy a lead and it goes to, no more than 3 other, professionals or financial advisors, but you've got your competitors contacting them too. What are they saying that's different than you? What are you saying that'll make you stand out? And I bet you that if you have an email signature that goes, hey, I'm just looking forward to connecting with you, learning about you, and the email signature had like the as featured on logos, like, Tom Smith, financial, advisor with XYZ as featured on, they're like, oh, okay, that's kind of subconsciously like an affirmation. And then maybe you do what I said before, listen to this podcast interview. So you're making that first outreach to them to say, no pressure, no pushing, no sales, just want to set up a quick call to learn more. But they see that social proof, and then they can hear your interview and your style and the way that you business. Yeah. And so now that is going to probably increase your chances on them keeping that appointment. Let's say now with that lead you bought or earned, right, from referral or a workshop that you did or whatnot. Now, after you had that first meeting, the next step is most probably we're going to get back together. I'm going to show you some of my ideas. Well, that now you need to have a email that goes out. Thank you so much. It was really good to get to know you. Hey, you know what? We talked about whatever, sequence of returns, whatever the concept was. And if, in fact, I did this recent podcast interview about that. Listen to it right here. It'll kind of go a little bit of my methodology here, and then we'll look forward to talking to you next week and go to a little bit more detail. Now you've solidified in their mind your expertise, your credibility. So I think, Josh, to answer that question, whether you buy leads, get workshops, referrals, they need to be nurtured in a specific way. And when you use authority positioning, it elevates in the prospect's mind that you are someone to be considered.
Yeah, no, I love that. It really makes a ton of sense when you consider how they're going to almost know you, like feel like they know you before they even speak with you. So last question for you, Mike, since you're coaching a lot of FAs and you're in this space and really looking at the trends, right? What marketing trends right now do you see financial advisors should be taking advantage of?
I think that have you ever heard of the concept called a pattern interrupt or disrupting the market, right? So like Uber disrupted the market. But in marketing, a pattern interrupt could be like you're watching this video and then here comes this picture of a big duck and it interrupts your pattern and you're like, oh, okay, let me tell you about, whatever.
Who did that really well is the Super Bowl commercial with crypto. Where they had that QR code. Do you remember?
Yes.
Did you see that?
Just the QR code.
Right. It was just the QR code on the commercial bouncing.
I was interviewed on Brad Swinehart. interviewed me, and I brought that up because I said to him, I don't turn my phone on. I don't check emails. I don't check texts on Sundays. That's my chill day, church and nap, hopefully. But on Super Bowl Sunday, I was watching that, and I had to actually get up off of the couch, get my phone off the charger, and I scanned that QR code because I'm like,
crazy?
That's amazing. Yep. That was a perfect example of a pattern interrupt. So to answer the question about what should advisors be doing, back in the day, it used to be you would create these long form marketing content. That was a pattern interrupt because normally it was this big ad to go buy now. Now it's content marketing. Well, I mean, back then it was content marketing. Then it was, we need to interrupt the pattern of, letting my mind wander. And it was these, hand drawn, like whiteboard videos. Okay, that's pretty cool. My opinion these days is it's moved from, sorry for people that promote this, but people's attention is quick and short. And these long 2-hour webinars, sign up for this so that I can pitch you, they need to be concise and to the point. So my advice is this. I've got a program called Mass Authority, which means you need massive authority, but it stands for mini audio seminar series. So if you took the buyer's journey and you knew that there's 3 or 5 or 6 of these really relevant topics that people must understand to do business with you, and you got interviewed on a podcast and talked all about number 1, and then another podcast talk all about number 2. If you got through those 6 or 7, key points, and now you got 6 or 7 really powerful interviews that you're the subject matter expert on, and now you could bundle that up into a mini audio seminar series, and now put that out on, like what I was showing you here. That right there is like, download this mini audio seminar series. That's unique and different because it's not show up for this 2-hour pitch. It's, listen to these 20-minute little segments. You can listen anytime while you're running, driving, exercising. And that right there, they go, okay, I don't have to listen to 2 hours, but 20 minutes, yeah, that's good. And then they're in and out and they hear. I feel like we need to cater to people's attention and keep our content really concise and to the point.
Yeah, makes tons of sense. Yeah. Thanks for coming on, Mike. Before we close out, let people know how they can connect with you or learn more about what you're offering.
Yeah, man. I focus all on authority marketing, authority positioning. So the little mini audio seminar series I just mentioned is called Authoritize Your Agency, and you can get that for free at authoritizeyuragency.com. My main website is authoritypositioningcoach.com, and you can check that out. And I would love to give people advice. I'm a teacher at heart, and so I love to help people learn and understand how they can maximize their expertise.
Awesome. Thanks again. And thank you all so much for listening. You can dive deeper into this episode, get the video along with those links that Mike mentioned there over at staypaidpodcast.com. You can see the show notes for this episode. If you enjoyed this episode and want to show your support, there's 2 ways we ask you to do it. First is to head on over to Apple Podcasts, drop us a 5-star review along with a comment so we can read it on the show. And the best way to show your support is to simply share this episode with a friend. If you want to get hold of me or Luke, you can email us at podcast@remindermedia.com. And of course, you can find us on social media. We are at Stay Paid Podcast. For this episode of Stay Paid, I'm Joshua Stike.
Guys, I'm Luke Acree. Mike, that was fantastic. Guys, I would encourage you, check out his stuff. He has helped many of our clients with authority positioning. He's helped myself with authority positioning, right? So if you Google me, there's stuff that comes up that might help me with. And I'm telling you, this is what you need because it's about standing out in this industry, and you need every little edge. Is it the end all be all? No, but neither is a magazine, neither is just one email, neither is just phone calling. You need an omnipresent effect. And so here's my action item for you. My action item for you is go Google yourself. What comes up? When you Google your name and your industry, what actually comes up there? You need to get your profiles in order, and then you need to get some type of media up there to build credibility and trust with your audience. Remember, the difference between top producers and mediocre producers in every industry is top producers take action. Take action on that today.